An asteroid was supposed to hit Earth on Friday, March 7th, 2025 at 12:27 a.m. Eastern Time. I don't know much about the people in power, or why they decided to keep events like this hidden from the public. I am here to tell you about the boy who stopped it. His name was Noah. I never knew his last name. He, like me, was 8 years old. Noah's favorite TV show was The Walking Dead. He was obsessed with BioShock and excited for The Last of Us Season 2. Inside clinical white walls, I grew up with him in a facility for teenage superheroes. It's perfectly normal for a 10-year-old to think he has superpowers. When I was 10, I was eating spaghetti when a suited man stepped inside my house and shot my mother dead. The man had an excuse. Apparently, I was already doing irreparable harm to her with my radioactive energy, and she was 3 weeks from suffering an aneurysm. He held his hand out, wore a white smile, and said, "Did you know you have superpowers, kid?" I did not know I had superpowers, but he explained it in ways I both did and didn't understand. He told me babies born in 2007 had a certain genetic mutation inside them, an evolutionary gene which caused psychic phenomena. I asked how that related to radioactive energy, and he just grinned and told me I was a funny kid. I was taken to a top-secret facility where I would learn to harness my awakening abilities. The facility had been built specifically for us, to build a group of people with psychic phenomena to save the planet from threats. I had grown up loving superheroes, so this was a dream come true. I didn't even realize I was slowly killing my mother. The facility would be a new start for me, and like all of my favorite teen superheroes, I would grow up just like them and save the world. Now, that is what I thought, because I was 10 years old. I could barely even register my mother being shot dead. The facility wasn't exactly a 5-star experience, but for a newly orphaned kid who was definitely fucking traumatized, I didn't complain. It's not like we were completely cut off from the rest of the world. We could watch TV, and there was a games console in the rec room. There were exactly 20 of us, and all of us had the exact same experience. A man had walked into our home, murdered our parents, and told us we had superpowers. I thought I could tolerate the daily tests. Every day after lunch, we would be individually taken inside a room. They weren't so bad at first. I was asked questions, and I had to answer them. They quickly moved to physical tests, telling me to run on an exercise bike or complete a math test. I expected something more akin to actually testing my superpowers. I still didn't know what my power was. The man wearing the white lab coat told me I was a level 5 for psychic phenomena. But I still felt the same. I tried to move things with my mind and tune into other people's minds, but I felt nothing. Yes, the people at the facility assured me I was coming into my powers, but I felt like an idiot. One test in particular twisted my body into knots, and I couldn't stop the scream ripping from my mouth, my body jerking, forming an arch, and slamming back down. But I was excited. This was the first test that felt real. My nose was bleeding and my body was aching, but for the first time since I arrived, I could finally feel it. My ability running through my veins, blooming inside me. I still laughed, forcing my chest to breathe, my lungs to inhale oxygen despite my screams. Gloved hands gently held me down, but I was shaking with excitement. I was a superhero. I was going to save the world. 8 years later, we got the first call. I was violently pulled out of bed and dragged downstairs, where we were told to stand in line. A man with a gun marching up and down. His name was Callan, and sometimes he offered me sour candies. Callan wasn't nearly as cold as he tried to make out. When we were kids, he would pull faces at us to make us laugh. As teens, he called us little brats. That morning, however, Callan was significantly pale in the cheeks. I wasn't supposed to eavesdrop on adult conversation, but these soldiers were loud. Earthquake and tsunami, Nankai trough. It's predicted to be over a 10. One soldier muttered to another. I think that's what he said at least. Something slimy crept up my throat when even the hard-faced soldier started cursing. Noah, who was standing next to me, nudged me. His lips curled into a smirk. I had known him since my first day when I broke down in front of him, and he was kind enough to offer me a snuggled candy bar. "This is what we're here for, right?" he whispered.
"You,
The soldier barking orders at us stopped in front of a small girl, Elizabeth. I heard her power was super strength. Elizabeth had never actually shown us. Using our abilities was a strict no-no outside the testing rooms. Elizabeth was a bitch. I don't mean that in a shitty way. I mean, she was the facility's answer to a mean girl. As a child, Elizabeth bragged that she was the most powerful, and also pushed me into the girls' shower rooms, for zero reason other than gathering her clique of equally annoying friends and laughing at me. As a teenager, she was somehow worse, extremely loud and actively picked on newbies. Noah shot me a look, rolling his eyes. I can't say I was happy that Elizabeth had the fate of the world on her shoulders. I was super salty as she turned to the rest of us and mockingly saluted before being pulled away. The last thing I saw was her bobbing orange ponytail. She was already demanding to sit in the front seat of an awaiting Hummer. As you all know, or don't know, since all of this is away from the public eye, Elizabeth saved you. She stopped the earthquake. I wasn't sure how, but I had an idea, and Noah had a fun imagination. When I got back to our room, he was loudly reenacting the moment Elizabeth stopped the earthquake from happening. Balanced on his bed, his arms spread out, pretending his blankets and sheets were the quivering earth beneath her feet. Aha! He mocked her voice, laughing. I've stopped you now. His audience were rolling their eyes, but smiling. Noah did a great impression of her, which was funny because Elizabeth regularly mimicked his lisp to make everyone laugh. We all waited in anticipation for the queen bee to return. I was secretly dreading it. I had a feeling she was going to keep us up all night, sneaking into the boys' dorm with the girls and going on and on and on and on until I threw a pillow at her head. Still though, I was excited to hear about her very first mission to save the world. But Elizabeth never came back. Apparently, she had joined a senior team consisting of older high school kids. I thought, good for her I guess. But I did get a little emotional walking past the room. As frustrating as she was, Elizabeth was part of our group. I didn't like that she had left her stuffed teddy on her bed. She had been clutching it the day she was dragged into the facility at 10 years old. Her eyes were raw from crying, almost hollow. I remember she was staring forward like she wasn't sure where she was going. When she opened up to the rest of us, Elizabeth told us her dad had been shot in the head and she was taken away. Then, she was separated from her little brother, who was put into a van. Elizabeth wore a brave face. I know it's for my own good, she said with a wide smile, but her lips were always curved a little too much, like she was planning to one day use her powers against the ones who took her. My roommate, however, was glad, and maybe a little jealous, Elizabeth was gone. She's a big shot now. Noah rolled his eyes, nudging me in the cafeteria line at breakfast. I was trying to choose between oatmeal or toast. Noah picked for me, grabbing me a bowl of oatmeal and dumping it on my plate. I had a feeling his ability was mind-reading because he knew exactly what I was thinking about. Of course, she's not coming back. He scoffed through a mouthful of unidentified meat. Noah's hair was growing over his eyes. I told him to cut it, but he said it made him look cool. I, however, thought it looked like one of my mom's photos as a teenager. Lizzie's probably joined some super secretive superhero team. He took the opportunity to once again mimic her voice. He was right. I was overthinking. The following week, we got another call. Growing up, I had come to realize when the bright yellow rotary telephone started to ring, it wasn't a good thing. This time, the woman answering it puked everywhere. Asteroid. That's all I heard when usually empty hallways began to fill with soldiers. The information from the call spread quickly, and I had never seen grown soldiers cry before. The woman who answered the phone was still sitting on clinical white tiles, her head in her hands. Throughout my time at the facility, our guards maintained a cold, authoritative tone, but I could see it cracking. Some turned on each other, others found comfort in each other, but they were all screaming the same thing. A space rock, twice the size of Chicxulub, the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, is going to strike the Indian Ocean on March 7 at exactly 12:27 a.m., an extinction-level event. Again, none of this information was shared outside the facility, not even world leaders, scientists. Per protocol, the first people who heard about potential world-ending disasters were us. At the time, I guessed they were using psychic phenomena to predict these events. As usual, 19 of us marched into the briefing room and stood in a line. This time, Noah was pulled from the line, his hand slipping from mine. I didn't even realize he was holding my hand until his clammy fingers were being yanked away. Noah looked scared, but I think he was excited. He shot me a sickly smile. "I'm going to send it flying back into space." He tapped his temple with a grin. "With my telekinesis." I figured in the testing rooms my roommate really had mastered his superpowers. It's not like he told me about his ability, which twisted my gut. Telekinesis was huge, but I also understood his preference to keep his superpower from the rest of us. I watched my Noah jump into an awaiting car, shooting me one last grin. "See you on the other side," he yelled. I didn't realize until he was gone that I didn't want Noah to join some top-secret organization filled with powerful older kids. I went to bed feeling sick. I was yet to fully come into my ability. I didn't even know what it was. I kept wondering if it was a mistake. Maybe my recruitment was an error. Yes, I admit, I was jealous of my roommate, but Noah would be jealous of me too. The man who murdered my mother told me I was extraordinary, and I would be fulfilling a purpose, but I still felt like a regular, ordinary teenager. I was aware of several kids waiting for the asteroid to pass, but I was too tired. I woke up the next morning to the adults cheering. He did it. Noah saved us. I could already imagine how fucking excited he'd be. I was excited for him. I completely forgot the #1 rule: do not leave your room until after 9. I jumped out of bed, excited to share my exhilaration with the other kids. Noah had saved us. 2 of the girls, Serena and Beth, were definitely awake. I could hear them excitedly chatting to each other. I pushed open my door, stepping into what we had called the lonely hallway since we were kids, because it had a dead end. Noah, of course, used it as his prime hiding place during hide-and-seek. There were so many storage rooms to explore. It was a hide-and-seek paradise. Something stopped me in my tracks though. When I left the comfort of my room, it was the sudden stink of iron that caught me off guard. I was so used to the hallways smelling like bleach mixed with oatmeal drifting from the cafeteria. This was stronger, biting into my nose and throat. I didn't realize I was still barefoot until I was standing in something thick and warm, trickling under my feet. Something slimy crept up my throat, my nerve endings on fire. Blood. A red streak trailed across clinical white tiles. The lonely hallway stretched all the way to the other side of the facility, and I found myself following the long bloody smear winding through the sterile white. I started to run, my heart in my throat, when I heard slapping sounds. The smears of red became thicker and darker until I was following a flowing red river down white. When the slapping noises stopped, I looked up. Noah was slumped on the floor. His throat opened up, eyes still wide, lips frozen in a grin. That's what the slapping noises were. The sound of his body being used like a fucking mop, smearing blood. The man carrying him held him like a trophy, fingers entwined in my roommate's bad haircut. The smear of blood wasn't accidental. It was purposeful. Noah's blood was supposed to run, to trickle all the way down the lonely hallway. The soldier dragging him looked gleeful, almost drunk. When he dropped to his knees, giggling into the floor, muttering about offerings and how grateful he was, how much he respected them, I turned around and walked back to my room, half aware of Noah's blood still slick between my toes. It truly hit me when I climbed into bed and let myself scream. I was so fucking scared. Noah wasn't a superhero. He was an offering. We don't have abilities. We're not genetically mutated children with psychic phenomena. We are sacrifices offered to stop potential world-ending disasters. Just like Elizabeth, whose body I found in a waste chute. Her body twisted like a pretzel, only recognizable from her hair. I was dragged from my room that same night. They strapped me down under intense white light, held a scalpel to my throat, and forced me to say it was a dream. That I imagined it. If not, I would be the next sacrifice. So I did. I played along. I told them I imagined it. We got another call a week later, March 14th. The phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing until someone answered it. The soldier was Callan. He was calm, nodding, saying, "I'll let them know." Then he dropped the receiver, pulled out his knife, and slit his throat. I don't know what it is this time, but it was bad enough for one soldier to tear out his eyes. The people who kidnapped me as a child and turned me into a sacrifice started to go insane, quitting their jobs, screaming, running around, trying to force their way out of the steel doors, locking us inside. I used the opportunity to gather the others and get the fuck out of there. The security guards, usually standing in front of our rooms, were gone. I saw one of them trying to stick the barrel of his gun down his throat. The thing about the facility is that the people running it always use the same threat against us. If you go outside, you'll hurt people, and it will be your fault. But now we know the truth. We're nothing more than glorified sacrifices offered up to satisfy something far greater than us. If you tell a group of traumatized children they're superheroes enough times, they'll believe it. We escaped several days ago. Whatever was said on that call shook them enough to quit their jobs and call their families. The usually padlocked doors leading to the outside world were open. So, we took the opportunity and ran. I had never seen the complete breakdown of a person before, and now I was seeing it on a massive scale. These people were crying, screaming and begging each other for inside information. I found it hard to believe they had the audacity to want to live, to survive what is coming, when they had brutally sacrificed my friends with not an ounce of empathy. I hope they all rot. Currently, we are in hiding, and I'm terrified these people are desperate enough to hunt us down. Will they kidnap more kids, or come after us? I don't know what's coming, and I wish you luck in surviving whatever was on that phone call. Whether that's today, tomorrow, or sometime in the future. Noah and Elizabeth saved you once, and then twice. I'm sorry, but we can't save you. This time.